So today I was dealing with an issue with one of my clients. This business was a furniture store, and a couple days ago he sent me an email saying, hey, I want to stop the campaign, Sean, because I haven't gotten enough results. Now, he had been away on a business trip in China and hadn't really been on top of the campaign that much. So he came back, checked with the assistant. His assistant said that only one person came into the store and used his coupon. So he's upset. You know, he spent around $1,000 that month on the digital marketing. And from his point of view, $1,000 for one person coming into the store and not even making a purchase was not worth it. So fair enough. Now, on the analytics side, I know that approximately 60 people downloaded the coupon from his landing page. And of those 60 people, 20 people opened the email. So it's actually not bad. You know, $500 of ad spend for 20 people downloading and opening the coupon. And you know, if there's one sale that arises from the campaign over a month or two, it more than pays for itself. But anyways, those are just detailed aspects of digital marketing. What I want to talk about is how I dealt with the situation. So to be honest, I was upset about it because in his email, he made it sound like he wanted to get out of our agreed upon 3-month agreement only 1 month in, which would be shitty because that means all of those development costs that my company incurred up front wouldn't really be paid for, and you know, we'd end up making no money at all on the project. So I sent him an email back telling him, I'm happy to refund your ad spend, but you know, the management fee you've paid so far is, you know, for services already rendered. Anyways, I was in classes all day and I had 2 missed calls from him. He left a message, so I was really worried, thinking this guy's super pissed. So I'm sitting down, getting ready to give him the call, bring out my computer, make some notes in Microsoft Word about what I'm gonna say, what my argument is. And you know, I give the guy a call and it's not as bad as I thought it was. He says that he's not that happy about the Facebook advertising, so he doesn't really understand that generally it does take longer than a month to really get great results in any kind of advertising. But anyways, he's happy to honor the 3-month agreement and wants to talk to me about other ways we can help his business through organic Facebook posting, social media, maybe even some search engine optimization tips, etc. That's what I want to say is that oftentimes people, you know, they just don't communicate that effectively. And based on his emails, I thought he was really pissed. He actually wasn't that mad. You know, his English is his second language, and he just didn't really communicate that well in the emails. But the reality is that we're still working together. He's not that upset. It looks like I've saved the deal for the time being. So just a quick story, guys. Finished up a giant final exam this morning as well, so I'm a bit tired. All right, guys, I'm just on my way to my Saskatoon apartment. It's beautiful and sunny out. The weekend was pretty lit. Akon was performing, believe it or not, in this small town of Saskatoon. Brought back high school memories. You know, it's funny though, you know, people assume rappers aren't that smart, but Akon's worth $80 million. And the majority of that is not from his rapping. I mean, I'm sure that's where his first bit of money came from, but he owns a diamond mine, I believe, in Africa. And he also helps produce and, you know, partners with so many other musicians. And he, I guess, has, you know, probably percentages, ownership, and royalties, etc. So you see him up on stage, he's probably one of the highest net worth businessmen I've actually seen in person, which is interesting. You know, you don't think of that at a concert. Anyways, back to the grind this week. Like I said, final exam this morning and a lot of client issues to deal with. And another issue that I'm dealing with is with my employees. You know, it's it's tough to know what to do and how to properly manage employees sometimes. So I have 3 people that work for me right now. They're technically contractors because I don't want to have to pay benefits and withhold taxes and all of that stuff. But I structure it like employees, and I give them, standard operating procedures, checklists they have to go through. We have team meetings when we can. So other than from a legal and accounting standpoint, I really like to structure it more as an employee relationship, because then you sort of have that cohesive team. But I find that in digital marketing, which is my business now, you really have to have creativity as well as being very detail oriented and analytical. So like I was mentioning there earlier, driving home, is that with digital marketing, you have the two sides of it, of the analytical side and the creative side, and that presents a challenge in both hiring people and in managing the people you hire, because generally people are either creative or they're either analytical. And for digital marketing, you really need both, and that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. You hire someone who can put together a beautiful landing page, but then it turns out they can't figure out how to allocate the ad spend between the targeting audiences properly and produce the monthly reports properly. But then you might hire someone who, has the mind where they understand all the analytics and all of the splitting of the targeting and the conversion rates, but then they don't have a good sense of design. And I would say it's funny, I have 3 contractors that work for me right now, and one of them is very strong creatively and not so strong analytically. Another one is very strong analytically but not as good at design, and I do have one of my workers in the middle who's awesome at both. So another thing to add to this is that, hire more than one person. Rather than hiring one full-time person, hire 2 or 3 part-time people, and then you will learn based on how they all work, which one's doing well, which one's not doing well, and what you can logically expect. And you also learn if something's not working, is it your fault or is it their fault? If you only have one person working for you, you don't know. But if you have 3 and 2 of them understand your instructions really well, and the third keeps making mistakes, you know that the reason it's not working is because of the worker and not because of you. So I'll make the rest of this vlog about what I like to call the hurdle of management. So when you begin hiring people to help you with your business, you're gonna actually see a reduction in efficiency and a reduction in productivity at first. But this is just like a little hump you have to get over, and then you'll see a greater increase in productivity and an increase in efficiency. In fact, at first you might even find you're losing money because you're still paying your people this dollarly wage or dollarly salary, but you don't know how to properly manage them, and you end up kind of spinning in circles and you're losing money on the project. But this is a really, really important hurdle to get through, to go from being a freelancer, which, if you're watching this, is probably not your end goal. Freelancing is a good way to get started in entrepreneurship, but you want to move forward and build a business and build systems. So to get over that hurdle, you have to first accept the fact that you're going to go through a couple months of reduced productivity, reduced efficiency as you learn how to properly manage people for your business. But gradually you get better at managing people, you get better at making systems, deciding on how to track their success and all of that stuff, even how to communicate with them, what things are better to do yourself versus what things are better to delegate. Delegation itself is a skill you learn. And then after you have a few months under your belt, you start really seeing the benefit of having hired people. And what it allows you to do is what's called leverage your time. So, I can work for 1 hour and give all 3 of my contractors instructions, and my 1 hour of work will produce the same results that, it might have taken me 10 or 15 hours to do if I was doing it on my own. And yes, this does cost money because I have to pay them, but as you keep scaling up the profitability of your workers will continue to increase, but the wage and the salary you pay them is going to stay like roughly constant, you know? So that's how you get, you know, exponential growth in a business. That's one of the ways, is more often than not, you will have to hire people to help you. So there are exceptions to this. You know, there are certain business models where you can achieve exponential growth just from your own actions and getting leverage other ways. One example, you know, I have a friend that does affiliate marketing, and he is able to see exponential growth because in affiliate marketing, it's kind of a simple equation of return on investment. So if you are able to turn $5,000 into $6,000 and you learn that process, then the next month you can simply put $10,000 and get $12,000 out. And then, you know, that keeps going forward. Then you put $20,000 in the month after that, then 40,000. And because you're exponentially increasing your inputs, you are increasing your outputs. In something like digital marketing, you know, there's not really that inherent exponential effect. The only way to see exponential growth is to leverage your time by hiring people to do the work, which frees up your time to find new ways of getting more and more business, both more clients and clients that are going to pay a higher price. You know, what I would say is that for me with my business, I've sort of been in and out of school with it, and actually coming back to school now forced me to learn how to hire people, because there's just no way I would have had time to do this all on my own while still passing my courses. So that was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. And now when I graduate, when I'm finished in a couple months, I'm gonna have so much time to just build revenue and build the business. I mean, right now I'm keeping all of my clients satisfied by personally spending about an hour a day working. So when I'm finished school, I should still spend an hour a day working in my business, managing clients, managing my employees or contractors, and then I can spend another 7 hours a day just going out and hunting for new business, and even better, creating systems that will create inbound leads for my business. So that's the plan. And you know, the important thing here is that in today's world with websites like Fiverr, like Upwork, even Craigslist, and the internet, it's not hard to find people to work for you. You know, you post a job description, and the way I approach recruitment is you cast a broad net. So you post the job, you get 20 people that will apply. Of that, you choose the 10 that look best, and you take them on first interviews. Then you choose 2 or 3 or 4 to do a second interview. And then you hire, like I always said, never hire just one person, hire at least 2, and then you just go from there. And you know what? If one of them doesn't work out, you still have that whole process in place. And what I found is that there were a ton of people that I liked, but I didn't hire. I could probably shoot them an email, and they're gonna still be interested in this kind of flexible, part-time, location-independent work. So again, it's just about taking the first step, making that Craigslist posting, making that Upwork posting, and starting the hiring process. That's all for today, guys. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, peace.